Welcome everyone. I am so excited to be doing yet another or hosting yet another really exciting discussion all about the State of Small Biz report. But today, I don't just have a guest with me. I have Nadine Nethery with me, and she put together her own State of the Customer report that I remember seeing on the internet because Nadine and I have been people who've just been like circling the drain on each other. But I remember seeing it and I was like, "Oh, this looks so interesting." And I think that it's going to complement the report that we put together here at NG. And so that's why I invited Nadine here today to have a discussion about not just the state of small business, but the state of the customer and how these two worlds absolutely overlap. Like there is a really big common center of the Venn diagram between these two
Absolutely.
worlds.
Yeah.
So, in case anyone is meeting me for the first time, hi, my name is Taylor Cusick Coleman, and I am one of the founders of NG, which is marketing software that helps small business owners plan, do, and review their own marketing. And Nadine, welcome. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the folks watching live and the replay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi, I'm Nadine Nethery. I am a customer experience and retention architect, and I support savvy online business owners, just like you people, to support your customer more holistically, look at the bigger picture, keep them in your universe for longer, and ultimately maximize the return on investment for every lead that you bring into your business.
Amazing. I love that because I know you kind of would you consider it you repositioned yourself recently
Yeah,
or
it was probably an organic evolution. So, as a bit of background, I worked primarily as a copywriter for 8 odd years, but really fell in love with customer experience, customer retention, which is something that I delivered in inverted commas for my customers on the side. Like we'd work on a piece of copy on their website, and all these ideas would pop up that I'd just throw in, like, have you considered doing X? Have you considered, doing this? So really looking at what came before the copy that I was going to write for my clients and what came after. So connecting all the dots. And yeah, I went into a bit of a deep dive probably 2 years ago. I took various courses on customer experience to really understand the science and go deep. And yeah, probably over the last year, I've leaned more into the strategic side of the customer journey. So still supporting you with messaging and the words to make it happen. But yeah, coming up with those out of the box ways to really engage your customer, break the pattern, interrupt the pattern, which is so important in today's online space. And then, yeah, help you make more money from the people that you already have in your orbit.
and I love that you have made that your focus because in the world of technology, like customer experience and retention is like one of the things that we all have to be obsessed about, but it's not
Mhm.
something that your typical business owner, especially in the creative space, is thinking about. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
now we've finally got an advocate for that and
Yay.
someone to really help support folks on that side of things. So we have uh, a really what how do I want to say this? You spent some time, you asked the AI bots to do the thing that would have probably taken us a lot of time
Yeah.
to figure out like where is that common space in the Venn diagram between our two reports. And so Nadine and I have already done quite a bit of thinking about how are these two worlds really impacting one another. And so that's what we're going to focus the rest of the
Mhm.
conversation on today. And so I have 8 really cool questions that I'm excited to chat through with you today. And we'll just dive right into the first one. And I think that this one is a little bit like just diving into the deep end of the shark infested pool, because let's talk about the fact that attention is so hard to get at the moment. And one of the findings in NG's State of Small Business report were that results are really flat for a lot of business owners right now. And actually, a third of business owners said that their revenue and leads were the same as or the same in 2025 as they were in 2024. And actually, a quarter of business owners who participated in the survey to put together this report said that it was less, like that they were down. And you, in the State of the Customer report, found that 68% of business owners are frustrated by their
Yeah.
lack of sales. So if small businesses are working harder to be seen right now, I think what we're seeing is the fact that customers are actually working harder also, but to filter out a lot of the marketing that they're subjected to. So, my question for you, Nadine, is what do you think we're actually competing for right now? Are we competing for attention? Are we competing for trust? Are we competing for airspace? What do you think that that is right now?
Definitely for trust, because AI slop is everywhere. You don't actually know what's real anymore, and what's been produced by some fancy AI tool. So it is all about showing up as you, uniquely as you, strategically as well, and helping the customer get to first wins fast. So they are time poor, which is something that came out as business owners, we're time poor, but also as customers. So throwing more content and, reels and posts at them without necessarily having a strategy behind it, definitely doesn't get you anywhere. So people reward businesses that respect their time, that help them reduce friction and guide them to quick aha moments, as I said. So as soon as they buy, they want to have quick wins. It's that instant gratification. We all know, right? And so purchase decisions on the flip side for customers come down to 56% of people said previous experiences with a brand. So ideally, you hook them initially, serve them really well, and then if everything goes to plan, they're going to keep buying from you. So that's where your repeat business comes in rather than just focusing on new leads all the time. It's also all about shared values. So over half 52% said they really heavily looked at shared values. So we all know the world is a bit of a shitstorm, excuse my language.
Yes.
So really owning what you stand for, what's important to you as a business, and the values that underpin everything you do in your business is super important. Transparency as well. So transparent messaging on your sales page, not tricking people into purchasing with fake scarcity and urgency. Things like that are really important because we all know we're smart nowadays. It's not 1995 anymore where you actually thought a timer was always real. And 30% of people also need testimonials and reviews. So really, again, coming into the trust factor here, having a look how you as a business owner can use case studies, testimonials strategically in your marketing to establish that trust and get people onto that journey with you.
Yeah. One of the, I don't know if this is a topic that has become commonplace in the Australian market. I know you work with people globally, but in the US, we talk a lot about the trust recession
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
happening right now. And so that I absolutely think that we're swimming upstream to earn people's trust
Mm, mm,
because folks have, like you said, like the timer is really just a figment of our own imagination that we decided to manufacture this scarcity around. And so people have really caught on to a lot of the basic marketing tactics that
yeah.
business owners used to use. And so I think a lot of folks are just struggling to rethink how am I going to build trust. And I love that you pointed out being transparent and
Mm.
all of those things because
Yeah, and
unfortunately,
budgets are tight as well. I mean, probably
mhm,
the same in the US. Interest rates
yeah.
are going up here, so there's that element of trust, but also funds are tighter, so you're competing for a tighter,
Hmm.
pool of investment that's out there. So really being strategic and thinking about what you put out there, how you can, connect with people on a deeper level.
Yeah. And that I think segues into my next question really well because we're talking about like how do we do things a little bit differently to earn trust. And like I mentioned earlier, effort is really up with business owners across
Mm,
the board, but the effectiveness of their marketing is down. And it's definitely not for a lack of trying. And it's definitely not for a lack of trying because 81% of business owners who took the State of Small Biz survey said that they experienced some form of burnout
mm.
in 2025. But the survey went out in September. So there was still an entire quarter of the year to experience higher levels of burnout or burnout for the first time. And only 20% of business owners said that they would rate their marketing as very or extremely effective. And
Mm.
that really complements what was in your report because 23% said that they were really frustrated by the lack of engagement that they were getting and, that they're describing customers and their purchase decision, like their decision making process, like it's all a messy soup of things at the moment. So you already sort of mentioned this that marketing is no longer about posting more content and putting more in front of our customers, but really what the direction that things are going in is that it's now we as business owners have a need to reduce decision fatigue for our buyers. And so my question for you is, do you think that business owners are burnt out because they're doing too much? Or do you think that they're burnt out because maybe they're doing the wrong things over and over again and not actually reducing the decision-making friction for their customers?
Yeah, it's probably a combination of things. I think what came out in my report from the business owner perspective definitely is that um, there is a lack of time. 36% said they're time poor, who isn't, right?
Mhm.
So we're really spreading ourselves far too thin, doing all the things. So really leaning into the things that move the needle for you is super important nowadays. So really dropping, doing all the things, focusing on the things that are getting you results, and also systemizing things. So 26% of business owners said lack of systems, doing things manually is frustrating them and burning them out. So taking a step back, focusing on what's important, and then having a look how you can automate that on the best back end and systemize things. And um, funnily enough, what showed up in our report is that there's a bit of a difference when it comes to new business owners and seasoned business owners. So
Mhm.
time always is the problem, but seasoned business owners are people who've been in business for a number of years and have seen, what's necessary. They probably have learned their lessons and along the way. They are now primarily worried about quality and support standards, though they have realized that what comes after the purchase is just as important as getting out there, producing content that gets new leads in the system, while new business owners are really caught up in the tech setup, the automation, all the moving pieces, and getting their head around how to actually systemize it. So that frustration with the lack of time is taken care of and somewhat resolved. And there is a correlation also between the confidence as a business owner in the experience that you deliver with the level of data tracking, actually knowing what's working in your business. So people who are across their customer lifetime value, their churn rate, what actually works, as I said before, what gets them sales, are much more confident about their customer experience because they can use data and educated decisions to make tweaks in their marketing and point their energy where it actually gets them results.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite stats from our report also is that the small business owners who are tracking their KPIs, their key performance
Mm.
indicators, which are just metrics, numbers, right? If the acronym
Yeah, yeah.
KPI is making someone go like, I don't even know what that is. But the folks who are tracking their numbers and looking at them to make and using them to make decisions, not just looking at them, right? Because there's a difference between
Yeah.
that and using the data, like you mentioned. Our folks were 2.8 times as likely to rate their marketing as very or extremely effective as compared to the folks that weren't in this habit of looking at the data to help them make decisions. So that here we go. We we have two reports that are telling all of you that you should be using your data to guide you because it does make
Mm.
it really easy to see what's working and what's not. And like you said, what can you lean into from
Mm.
there?
It's that flow on
Yeah.
effect. I feel like data
Mm.
has got this, oh my God, boring. Like I don't love numbers, right? But it is so powerful because it actually tells the story, tells you what your audience resonates with, tells you what you need to amplify, what you can totally bin and stop doing. And while it takes a little bit of time, that it's that beautiful flow on effect where everything becomes easier once you really understand your audience behavior and your marketing effectiveness.
I love that. So on the other side of flowing, things that flow would be small business owners' relationship with social media.
Oh,
And
yeah.
half of them told or responded to the State of Small Business Report saying that they would just walk away from it if they could, but they don't feel like they can.
Mm.
And, you know, you have a bunch of stats as well that really reinforce this. And, you know, like one of them being that um, you know, almost half would allocate a different amount of their marketing budget to like, you know, putting it more into their customer experience versus social media and things like that. So I think everybody knows the soapbox of like small business owners don't really like to be on social media, but we feel like we need to be. And so if we're going to move past just posting sort of singular pieces of content. And we're going to move into a space where we're going to pay more attention to the full funnel, the full onboarding process, the full like, how do I make sure that my customer experience really is facilitating retention, right? Or
Mhm.
repeat business. Where do you think folks can start? How would you get them pointed in the right direction here?
Yeah, so I feel like acquisition and getting new followers and new leads, while it's important, obviously, we all need new eyeballs on our business. It is still that shiny object syndrome. So 60% of business owners in our report said they would focus only on acquisition over retention if they could only choose one thing, which personally I'm putting down to a lack of understanding, like the effectiveness of properly supporting your customer once they're in your orbit and what that can mean for your long-term bottom line, but also a lack of system. As I said before, automation is still rare. So if you look at our respondents in our report, only 4% are using AI in their processes to support their customers. And 58% of business owners are either using no automations at all
Hmm.
or very basic automations where someone signs up to a lead magnet and there's a confirmation email. So the majority of people are doing things far too manually and not automating things, which then obviously means all the leads you're bringing in via social media, via speaking at summits, even running paid ads. It's great they enter your system, but you're literally running a leaky bucket. So all the water, all the new leads you're putting in, they go down the drain. So if I was to start my business again today, or wanted to shift to something that is more sustainable, I would absolutely look at my customer journey. So have a look how your customers can experience your offer suite in a way that supports their needs, that builds trust, that means you're not constantly pushing a hard sell, and then how you can automate that. So, super effective strategy that also popped up in our report is that running a loyalty program has a super huge impact on your bottom line, but only 14% of online business owners currently have one. So, yeah, super interesting. And out of those 14% who have one, 71% said it was amazing for their bottom line. So I know there's a lot here, but really stepping away from treating social media as your only way to bring in new leads and make more money, having a look how you can support them once you have added them to your email list, once they've engaged with you, and how you can automate that process because as we established, we're all time poor, and those systems and strategizing the process really is super important along the way.
Hmm. And you brought up a concept that we were going to talk about a little bit later, but let's just talk about it now. The whole acquisition versus retention.
Yeah.
And because I do think, again, this is one of the things that a software company looks at very differently than a creative business owner or entrepreneur or a service-based business. And my question for you is like, why do you think that so many business owners are emotionally like almost addicted to, I need to get new people into my orbit rather than switching
Mm.
their mindset and approach and some of their resources to focus on how do I nurture the people who I already have in order to turn them into repeat customers. I'm just curious to know your thoughts on the psychology behind this one.
Yeah. I feel there's definitely a dopamine hit linked to that follow, that like, the engagement, someone who signs up to your email list. So there's that element to it. But there's also, I think, too much noise around getting followers and growing your list at any cost. So personally, I've stopped saying yes to a lot of opportunities that aren't aligned because there's no point adding random people to my list who are not positioned in any shape or form to ever buy from me. So I think there is so much benefit to being strategic about your visibility and your list growth because, as I mentioned, you do need fresh eyeballs in your universe. But not putting all your eggs in that list growth and your audience basket and really treating the people that have already said yes to you as royalty because it takes how long now? It used to be 7 interactions with a
Oh,
brand. I don't even know how long it takes nowadays. As we said, this
nine
lack
months.
of
We'll just say it's
trust.
9 months.
Yeah, there's not like so much noise, a lack of trust, a lack of available funds right now. So it is so short-sighted to just look at new people because these people realistically are going to take a long time before they buy from you. And if you drop them like hot potatoes as soon as they've said yes to you, what are they going to do? They're going to unsubscribe and they're going to go elsewhere because shiny object syndrome fades pretty quickly. And that lead magnet or presentation that they signed up for yeah, eventually that's a thing of the past. So how you support them long term is super important. And again, automizing things, personalizing things as well. So paying attention to what they're engaging with, what they're clicking on, and taking them on a really bespoke journey through your offer suite is the way to go. Definitely in the long run to keep those
Yeah.
people engaged and yeah, falling in love with you over that time.
Yeah. One of the things that I actually am going to experiment with myself starting in March is
Mm.
I'm going to stop emailing 95% of my email list
Mm.
because they rarely engage with our emails. And those folks very often have ended up on our email list because of different online summits or speaking engagements or
Yeah.
even some
Mm.
in-person things. So they were never really high quality email list
Yeah.
subscribers. And so the other day I was like, I'm just going to focus on the people who do show interest rather
Mm.
than trying to convince these
Yeah.
thousands of people to have interest. And I think that that's a real world example of exactly what you're talking about, right? Like the effort that it would take me in order to get this 95 percentile of our email list to actually start paying attention when I could just start paying attention to the
Yeah.
5%. and give them
Exactly.
all of the love, right? So
Mm,
I love that this is
yeah.
one of the conversations that we're having
Yeah.
today.
No, I'm with you. Like I'm ruthless when it comes to my email list. So even though I grow my audience, I speak on stages, etc. If people don't engage with my emails for, during a 3 month period, they're gone. As much as
Hmm.
it hurts to see the dip, but
Yep.
they're clearly not interested. They came for different reasons. And the interesting thing is a lot of them come back eventually. So they come and go as they please and come in. And I think that's totally okay. We have busy inboxes. I unsubscribe from things not because I'm not into a business necessarily, but just because I need a break and
Hmm.
it's just not the right time and space. So, yeah, totally focus your efforts on the people that are showing an interest and support them as much as you
Yes.
can. Mm.
Yes. Because that's how we can also stop feeling like we're screaming into the void, right?
Yeah,
If
exactly.
we can stop feeling like that and we can start feeling like we're having conversations with people who are genuinely
Mm.
interested. So, that's
Yeah.
I understand why it's hard for people to do that, but Nadine and I are
Ah,
putting all of the please think about
yeah.
this a little bit differently moments in front of everyone.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned AI a few times already today.
Mm.
And, I heard AI slop, which, yes, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
the AI slop is really
Yeah.
not making my work as a marketer any easier to compete with.
Mm.
But, you also mentioned like automation using AI and all this kind of stuff that are very helpful tools that we now have as business owners. But one of the findings from your report that I found interesting is that true AI-led automation is still a rare occurrence. And I think that's
Mm.
because like having something truly be automated is not that easy. And then second,
Yeah.
getting AI to do that is even more like, what am I going to use? How am I going to use it? And so, my question for you in this space is even as business owners lean into AI in an effort to help them work faster, how do we avoid the slop? How do we preserve the heart and personality and core of our brands so that the content that we're putting out there is still a value add to our customers instead of just like, I needed to get a post out today?
Yeah, great question. It's complex, right? Because AI can be super helpful, super handy, and I use it in my business. But I always feel like if we can use AI to free up more space and time for us to connect with our audience on a deeper level, that's the win-win here. So rather than outsourcing ourselves or even turning ourselves into a, you know, coach inside a program where we don't have to deal with people anymore, that's not that's not the ideal way to go. So really leaning into automating the time draining processes. And if you want to use it for content creation, definitely make sure it is reflective of your values. You've briefed it on your tone, on your brand essence, basically. So it's a great starting point, and always add it. As a copywriter here, the amount of times I've seen people who come to me with a draft and they think it's like 95% finished. It's not. So like we're all clever, right? We can all pick AI where it's not
Hmm.
this, but it's this, like,
Hmm.
telltale signs. So yeah, automating time draining things so we can free up more time that we're lacking as we established. Using it to automate things. So for example, in my membership, I have a chatbot, not to replace myself, but to help people navigate the member portal. So it is one central space for them to find their way around. So if they're looking for a specific lesson, it's going to give them the link. It's going to remind them of the features when events are happening, but it's not replacing me. So whenever it gets stuck, it tells them to, hop in the into the community and ask the question there. So yeah, using AI to support how you work and to improve the customer experience is critical. So going beyond putting a prompt into ChatGPT. So you've got your social media caption, actually thinking how you can embed it into your customer experience and onboarding experience, for example, as well,
Hmm.
is the key. And funnily enough, the people who responded to our surveys um, were primarily focusing over the next 12 months in AI support and live chat features for their customer experience. So AI is on the radar for people. I still think it is somewhat, there's an element of respect when it comes to AI. And again, there's that lack of time to do it properly and to create something that actually ticks all the boxes. You need to set aside time or outsource to someone to do it for you. And we all established there's lack of sales, so there's a lack of available funds. It's that catch 22. You need to either
Hmm.
invest time or funds to get it up and running, which makes it even more complex, particularly because almost 50% of respondents said they're going to invest 10% or less of their marketing budget in improving their customer experience over the next 12 months. So, as much as they agree that the customer experience will become even more important over the next 12 months and beyond, the actual investment and the commitment is still lacking. And I think that's totally down to the fluffiness of customer experience. It's this buzzword that gets thrown around, and people just don't understand what it means. And they don't see how easy it can be to automate the
Hmm.
customer experience while still personalizing things. I could talk for hours, but it's complex. But I think yeah,
Yes.
AI definitely to allow you to elevate your personal brand and how you show up for your customers rather than replacing that.
Hmm. Well, we'll have to have another conversation and nerd out, nerd out. We'll spend the days talking about this because
Yes.
I also like uh, our customer service is one of the parts of our business where AI is the most embedded.
Mm,
And that's because as a software company, I can't possibly respond to 100. If we were to get hundreds of customer service
yeah.
requests in a day, like I can't, I have other things that I need to do.
What you
So
do?
yeah, shocking. So,
Ah,
because I am still frontline customer support. So that's one of the ways that AI has helped me personally the most
mm,
is it closes about 75% of the
yeah.
tickets that come in.
Awesome.
Now, granted, sometimes it makes things up and I still need to go through and like catch those things and correct it.
Yeah.
But it is still very much a huge help.
Mm,
And so I stand right next to you in encouraging people to think differently about how they are supporting their customers and how technology can be a part of that. Because I know that as someone, if someone has thinks of their business as like not a technology based business, this is, I think, a way
mm.
that people in their minds reserve for software companies
Yeah.
versus pulling it into their own thing. So, like I said,
Yeah.
we'll have another nerd session about
So
that.
much to talk about.
Yes. So, one of the other things that I was very pleasantly surprised to see um, in your report and both in ours is the theme of structure, and which structure has now become a word that I am like trying to scrub from my own vocabulary because every ChatGPT caption uses the word
Yeah.
structure. So I'm starting to have this like human visceral reaction to that
Yeah.
word. But the fact of the matter remains true because small business owners who have a documented marketing plan, which is a form of creating structure in their business, were 3 times as likely to rate their marketing as very or extremely
Mm.
effective. And for you, 71% said that systematizing things related to repeat purchases really paid off for them.
Yeah.
So structure is legit. I'm going to need to come up with I'm going to hit thesaurus.com to come up with another word for it. But despite those statistics, I hear a lot of people, or a lot of people just tell me, kind of as like, I think, a way to avoid doing the work. They say, I do my best work when I'm inspired,
Mm.
right? And my reaction to that is you just don't have any sort of plan, any sort of structure for getting something done. So you need to be inspired to do the work because you're totally winging it every time you're sitting down to do the work.
Yeah.
So, what advice do you have to preserve creativity, but also bring an element of some scaffolding to this?
Mm, great question. I totally believe in creativity, like most things in my business, are somewhat out of the box. If you've been in my world, you'd know. If not, definitely invite you to check it out. So there's a lot going on up here, and a lot of ideas, but how I personally handle it, again, it's different for everyone, but I have this huge ideas list where I drop everything, and collect everything that comes up. So any concept that's remotely of interest to me and could remotely work for my brand, I add to my ideas list, but I don't just act on it right away. So I then slot it into my longer term marketing plan, right? So there's a marketing calendar that loosely has bigger projects on it. Um, and if it fits into one of those buckets, it might get a go. So I love creativity and ideas, but always recommend sleeping on it. And again, sense checking. Do I have data that's shown that something like this has actually worked in the past? Do my people resonate with this? How is it linked to my goals, and the bigger picture that I'm working towards? And if any of those don't align, I would totally sit on it, potentially refine it or bin it because, again, you're wasting your time, your energy that's already lacking in your business, most likely. Yeah, so it's complex, but big fan of ideas. They just need to fit into the bigger picture of your business. And it's sometimes painful to hear. So I'm glad you're on the same page because the amount of times I talk to my customers and go, yeah, that's great, but let's just have a look. How does it fit into the bigger picture? It happens often. So sometimes you just need also an outside perspective, someone to bounce the idea off with, to just go, yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, yes, that's a
Hmm.
winner. Run with it.
Yeah.
It's complex.
It is very complex, and it's one of the reasons that being a business owner is a challenge that
Mm,
never, it's a very Sisyphean effort,
yeah.
right? Like we're gonna roll the rock up the hill, and then eventually that rock is gonna get too heavy, and we're gonna backslide and then have to do it all
Yeah.
over again. But I like that you bring up the fact that not every idea is going to be an idea that
Mm,
you take an action on. And I
that's right.
I do see a lot of people getting frozen around all of their ideas
Mm,
because they won't they I think they think that they should still just be doing all of them, and where they don't go through this process of, okay, well, these ones are good ideas, but they don't need to happen, right?
yeah.
And I don't know, I think maybe it's this weird sort of psychological sense of rejection that you're doing to yourself, or that you won't admit that you had
Mm,
a bad idea, or that, but
mm,
if with marketing ideas, I do think that it's very important to create just guardrails to help you make those decisions on
yeah.
whether, my 1,400 screenshots of things that I that I think I could possibly do need to actually happen.
Uh,
But also, those same guardrails should be related to your customer experience,
mm,
because really everything that we're doing on behalf of our businesses and brands should funnel down into how do you want people to interpret your brand, experience your brand, find value in it.
mm,
And so those are things that I think about when I'm making decisions about,
yeah.
you know, is this idea a timely
Yeah.
idea? Is it relevant? Should it get shelved?
Mm,
Should I just let it go? Right?
mm,
Because not everything is going to happen all the time.
yeah. And particularly for ideas that are inspired by what you see out there, which I
Hmm.
feel happens a lot because there's a lot of stuff out there. Always sense check as well whether it makes sense for your audience and your brand, because what works for someone you've seen online doesn't necessarily resonate with your audience or is on brand for you. So if it feels gimmicky or tokenistic, it's never a good idea.
Yep. Someone else's business is not your business
Yeah, you
at
know,
all. So.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, this was a fantastic conversation. We covered so much, and I am so thankful that the internet made, put me in your orbit so that I could read your report and invite you to have this conversation with me. So I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to let the people know how can they, because you mentioned a membership.
yeah.
Tell us all about how people can stay connected with you and also get into your orbit if working on their customer experience is something that they're realizing they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, obviously, you can grab the complete report if you like. So it dives into, as we explored, the online business owner perspective, but then also surveyed those online business owners from a customer perspective. So that's where some even beyond this chat, juicy findings came out where the business owner perspective doesn't necessarily always align with the customer expectation. So it's interesting when it comes from the same person. So if you want to go deeper, have a look at even more interesting things and what they mean for your potential marketing and sales approach in 2026 and beyond. Definitely grab the report. I think Taylor's got the link
Yes.
to drop it in there. But if you want to take it further and you're interested in growing your own retention engine that works on the back end, it works for service-based businesses, course creators, membership site owners, and yeah, make more money from the people you already have in your world on autopilot, then Retention Lab is the perfect place for you. It's a come as you go membership. You can stay for as long as you need. Take your pick from a whole bunch of formulas that you can execute on a monthly basis alongside amazing other people just like you working towards that same goal to sell in a way that feels good, market in a way that takes up less of your time and also maximizes, yeah, every customer, every audience member that you've already convinced to say yes to you. But yeah, there's more in the report on that as well. There's also a podcast if you like my approach to running an online business. Definitely tune in. It's called What Would They Do? And it's bite-sized episodes where I share actionable tips to, yeah, improve your customer experience step by step.
Wonderful. Well, increase your lifetime value of your customers, right? Like
Yeah,
that is the goal for all of us. And thank you so much for putting together a fantastic report, for agreeing to do this with me today. I'm so excited to, like I said, finally have connected with you, Nadine. All of the
so good.
links to all of the things will be posted in the video description here on YouTube, where I'm posting the replay of the live discussion. But I really, really encourage every single one of you to download both of the reports. You know, take an afternoon, not even an afternoon. It probably takes you 30 minutes to read through both of them. But there are really some deep and insightful statistics and findings in both of them that can help you feel a little bit more confident, or in some cases, a lot more confident about the decisions that you're going to be making for your own business in 2026. So, thank you again, Nadine, and thank you for everyone who's watching this replay and joined us live. And go go do something to better your business, better yourself, better your customer experience this week. And we'll see you around somewhere on the internet.
Amazing. Thank you. See ya.